That's when his time up.
Yup.
He
That's
can't get his timing together because Mercury retrograde.
that's exactly it. Mercury retrograde messing everything up. We are live. It's the Mina's House podcast. I'm your host, Mina. Say what? It's
That's when his
episode.
time up. Yup.
What happened?
That's it.
Hello?
What is that?
I don't know, girl. I told you it's Mercury retrograde.
But it says it's only me and you in here.
Well, I'm Mina. Say what? Did you say your name?
No, I'm Shana B, and apparently we're joined by some special guests that we don't know who or where they're at.
Child, I know what we don't have. We don't have Dexter or Garnett joining us today. I know that. I don't know who did join us, but I know who's not joining us today. No, Dexter might pop in. Who knows? So I was telling Shana it's Mercury retrograde. It's a time where communication is difficult. Technology is failing. Has that happened in your life, Shana?
Yeah, technology. I mean, my computer moves slow all the time. And even trying to get one here tonight, it was like moving extra slow for some reason. So yeah.
Is
And
that
then
Mercury retrograde?
miscommunications. Like I just had a miscommunication with my sister and I feel bad, but then I'm like, they didn't really do anything. It was just like a small miscommunication, but she's taking it too far.
It's Mercury retrograde.
Right. So she'll
I'm
be all right.
blaming everything that goes wrong on Mercury retrograde. I was supposed to go on vacation to one place, and now it's ending up that I'm going somewhere else. And it's Mercury retrograde. That's what it is. That's all it is. Everything. Let's hop into what's in our feed. Hopefully Dexter wakes up from wherever he's at and joins us at some point. Dave Chapelle being canceled. Did you watch the Netflix special, Shana?
I did. And what do you mean being canceled? You mean trying to be canceled?
No, he's canceled.
He is not canceled.
He's canceled. They pulled him off of Netflix. He's
no, canceled. They did pull it off of Netflix.
I thought they did.
No, Netflix said they standing by it. And somebody brought out a good point with Netflix.
Wait a minute.
They did. And they suspended, apparently, and this is the more scandal. They suspended an employee who came out against it.
Wait a minute. I didn't read that. When did that happen?
See, I read that Netflix said they are not pulling it. They will not pull it.
I was telling everybody and their mama that they pulled it.
But see, this is what I say. Somebody brought up a good point. They said they were like, but y'all know Netflix watched it before we did. I was like, man, that is true. That is true. They were like, Netflix was very clear on what the content it was, very clear on that it would be very talked about and controversial. And they were like, so if Netflix didn't want to put it out, they wouldn't put it out. I'm like, that's true. But my thing was, but you do, sometimes we have things that happen and then people take it back afterwards because they might not realize how big the controversy is going to be. But I did have to think about that. Like, right, Netflix clearly viewed this special fully before we got to see it.
So what did I read? One of those hoax websites?
There were people that were pushing Netflix to cancel it.
I swear to you, I saw Netflix
decide. No, because when I saw it, it was like, wow, okay, Netflix is standing behind it. But like I said, now there is some controversy, and I did see a story now, I don't know if it's true, that Netflix apparently suspended an employee that had very strong feelings about it. Now, if that's true, to me, that will be kind of telling because it's not, because it would be, it'd be too hypocritical. You can't say like, okay, well, we stand by Dave Chapelle to say what he wants to say, but then we want to suspend an employee for speaking up against not agreeing with it. So if that's true, that would be problematic to me.
Well, I think that is actually true because when I just Googled it, that's what came up. Netflix suspends
with that, if anything.
Netflix suspends trans employee who tweeted about Dave Chapelle special.
And to me, that's not right. So if you're going to stand behind Dave and say, hey, we stand by him, it's freedom of expression, freedom of speech, then how is your employee exempt from that? And again, I have various feelings about the special. I did watch it. I think Dave Chapelle, and I'm actually, it's interesting to me to see what the other comedians are saying. And Damon Wayans spoke out and he said like Dave Chapelle freed other comedians and how they have to be PC and they're scared to walk the line because they're scared of sponsorships and everything. All I want to say to that is everybody ain't David Wayans and Dave Chappelle. So all y'all comedians,
Right.
don't try it.
Right.
You don't let David Wayans and Dave Chappelle hype you up because you will be canceled. Okay?
So I found the tweet from the trans person. It says, I work at Netflix. Yesterday, we launched another Chappelle special where he attacks the trans community and the very validity of transness, all while trying to put us against other marginalized groups. You're going to hear a lot of talk about offense. We are not offended. Okay.
So maybe they're just mad. Maybe they have like a clause, and maybe why he got suspended wasn't, or she or they got suspended because not because they have an opinion, but maybe there's like a clause about like what you can and can't. You know, certain jobs have social media clauses of what you can and can't talk about. So maybe it was more because it's a violation of like their social media policies more than its opinion.
So this says that a spokesperson for Netflix said it's absolutely untrue to say that we have suspended any employee for tweeting about this show.
Okay.
Our employees are encouraged to disagree openly, and we support their right to do so. So apparently this employee, along with two other employees, were trying to attend a director level meeting that they weren't invited to. So that's probably why they got suspended.
Okay, see, they was doing the most, and that's how rumors start. Because you see how they chopped it up to be like, because they spoke out against. Y'all were trying to be in places you weren't invited to.
Right.
And it was bad.
So I'm kind of happy that they haven't pulled it because I actually haven't watched it yet. And literally someone said it to me the other day, said you better watch it before they pull it. And I think it's on my bucket list tonight to make sure I watch it. But here's what I gathered from it, right? Based off the clips that I saw on social media. So there was the one story. Well, first he started saying that, you know, in America, you can kill, basically what the gist that I got was you can kill a Black man and get away with it and become a millionaire and be successful. But the second you talk about the LGBTQIA plus community, that's it, you're canceled. So he used the baby as an excuse for that. Now, when I watched that clip, I didn't interpret that as an attack on, you know, the LGBTQIA plus community. I interpreted that more so as a commentary on our society, where someone can literally kill someone else and rap about it and still be successful, and no one's upset about that. But then they're upset about commentary about other communities. So for me, it was more so like a commentary on how certain communities are more organized than others, you know, where it's like you can say certain things about some communities and you can be fine, but you could say something about another community and that's it, your life is over. That's how I interpreted that. Then the second story that I read about was about the his trans friend, who he met through his commentary about trans people. He developed a relationship with a trans comedian, had that comedian open up for him. The comedian did terrible. However, then Dave started to like kind of like pull him into his own show, not him, but the trans person, her. And then that trans person found they're funny, I guess, then was defending Dave. And then social media and other peoples of the community started attacking this trans person. And then this trans person killed himself herself. So it's a man who transformed into a woman. Okay. Yes. Killed herself. Again, I didn't watch the special, so I don't really know the specifics. So that's how I interpreted what the error is in the actual special. Is that accurate? And
I was going to say you're pretty spot on. And I guess the thing is, people are missing the message. And I think that's why like Netflix is like, we're not going to cancel it, because of course he makes these obscene jokes. He's a comedian. So of course he takes jabs and makes fun and takes it to the extreme, but he starts it and ends it with this is my point. And he talks about that this is my point. It's not about, it's more a society thing. And when it comes down to color, and the color of your skin really determining and can change the trajectory of what happens. And again, because when he started with the baby, I really didn't know where it was going. And then when he got where he was going and then continued to go into it throughout, I'm like, no, he's kind of right. Like, and he spoke about that, like you said, like pointing out how certain communities are marginalized. He actually said, like, Black people are envious of the LGBTQIA community,
right?
Because you've been able to make so many more strides in your cause than we're able to. You know, you're able to get things done more effectively than we're able to. And he does. He says that is his point. And so again, I think people get lost in the jokes that he makes, like, oh, he's making fun or he's disrespecting it. But he's got to do that, because as much as he is, you know, Dave Chapelle is different. Anybody that thinks like that we're going to get a Dave Chapelle special and it's just totally going to be like these laughs. He's a thought person as well. He's going to make you think. So yes, he makes those jokes, pushes the line. We all laugh, but he comes back to what his actual thought process was. And ironically, again, the trans person that he became friends with, her family has now come out and spoke out and said the same thing. Like, you guys are mixing the message. You're not hearing what we've all seen the special. We know how much he supported her and supported the community. He is a friend to the community. You are missing his point and you are proving his point. You know, so I thought that was definitely, you know, telling that her family would also come to the defense and try to push the point. And somebody actually said, they said, you know, it's ironic. Obviously, she was Caucasian. And they said, they were like, if people back off because her family is stepping forward, again, it kind of goes into what he's saying about a color thing as well. Like, you know, when you are of a certain color, things go different. But I mean, I thought it was, honestly, I thought it was one of his best pieces in just his evolution of being able to be like a comedian and being able to take you to a subject that is really deep and have you thinking on a level that, because again, comedy is just comedy most of the time. You want to laugh, but he took a very heavy subject, gave us some laughs, but really made you think about what he was saying as well.
Yeah. And you know, again, I'm going to watch the full thing so I get the full context. I'm happy that I kind of interpreted what was going on effectively, even though I didn't even watch it. But what I will say is I think people get lost sometimes in kind of the minutia of certain things. I mean, we know that Dave hasn't been an ally to that community. Say what you want.
Right.
He said enough to piss that community off. So I think that they already have like something, you know, they already have something against him. So even if he utters the word LGBT, they're going to jump on him. But I think that people really need to take away the fact that literally all communities need to be this way.
Yeah.
You know, all communities need to be this way. If there's something wrong, you lobby, you speak up, you protest. It's crazy. I was having this conversation with a friend, and in the hood in Philly, there's certain neighborhoods where literally there's no parking.
Yep.
So people park on the street. On the sidewalk where you walk, they park there, and people don't get towed, people don't get ticketed. People are just okay with living in a neighborhood where there's no parking, so you park on the street. It's crazy to me.
Block other people in, and it's normal.
Hello, it's a one way, and you parked in the middle of the street for the night, and everybody's okay with that. And I remember I was telling my friend, I said, you know, in certain neighborhoods, this would never fly. Mm-hmm. People would be at their council person's, you know, door lobbying for parking garages, and you know, it would be a serious problem. There's no parking. I gotta park on the damn sidewalk. That's unacceptable. And I literally, this is what I talk about. Some communities and some people, and this is a primarily Spanish neighborhood. This is my people. You know, like, it's like there's no like sense of like, hey, let's fix this. I don't know. Maybe there is. I don't know. But the pressure is not being applied to the point where someone feels like they got to resolve the problem. Right.
Right.
And it's like, that's really what the issue is. Like, some people are just okay with living how they're living or being treated how they're being treated. And maybe they might not know their options. They might not know that they can write to the council person. They might not know that this is something they can ask for. And if they don't get it, they can, vote the council person out or vote someone else in. It takes an amount of organization required and action to get things done. That community has that.
Yep.
So it's like, I think that's the bigger thing here. Like, all communities need to have this.
And for the people that like are offended, I'm like, he's a comedian. He makes fun of Asian Americans. He's married to an Asian American. Like, so that's why I guess I get too frustrated with people. Like, do you understand what a job is as a comedian? And again, this comedian has taken it to different level and different heights of how he performs and what he does. He even touches on like the Asian brutality thing, but he doesn't touch on it too much. And I thought that was interesting, but I realized because I think, he made some jokes and different things, he didn't want his main message to get lost, and it would have got lost if he kept going into that, but he did touch on it. And again, probably because his wife, his kids, you got to touch on it. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I thought, and I go back to when everybody's like, Netflix should have never had, they should cancel it. And then when somebody said to me, like, what part of people don't realize that Netflix had to okay it? And I'm like, yeah, that's actually super true. He was like, yeah, they had like screenings and everything before it got to us. I'm like, yeah, that's very true.
You know what, though? I find myself kind of like in a rock and a hard place when it comes to comedians, because I get that people are like, well, they're telling jokes and it's just comedy. But again, sometimes comedy is a way to perpetuate certain ideas, right?
Yeah.
And certain ways of thinking. So I kind of get, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, but take it on the other end. Say there was a person cracking jokes about white supremacy. We would want them canceled. We would want them down. We would want them to stop. So it's like, I don't think that comedy is a green flag to just say whatever you want, because sometimes it's going to be someone maybe perpetuating negative or stereotypical things about you or the people that you represent and spreading racism. I don't think comedy should be a place where people can hide under the guise of, I'm doing comedy, I'm a funny guy, to say these inappropriate things. So I find myself in a difficult place with that.
Yeah. And again, I would say and I saw one famous transgender that was like, I didn't watch it, but again, she gave her opinions on what she thinks it is. And I'm like thinking like, you should watch it, because I think she takes it like, oh, he is, putting down the trans community. And again, that's not really the message. It was more the organization and the beliefs and how it's portrayed. And again, the baby is a perfect example, because you're the one that told me about the baby killing somebody. I didn't even know, because it wasn't put out there how when this other thing happened that was just as horrible. Like, again, it's just as bad, or it is bad. I'm not going to say just as bad as taking somebody's life. It was also bad, but we didn't hear about it the same way we heard about that. And that was more his point, is like, whoa, like how unbalanced are we as a society?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the baby is, I think people justify it because they say he says it was self-defense, but then he bragged about it in a song.
Right. And still, we never really heard, like when you told me, I heard like Wikipedia, like, oh, yeah. It wasn't as hyped up as the other incident was.
Yeah, but a lot of the times in rap, those kinds of things are glorified. So it really comes down to like culture, right? Like,
right.
What do we accept as a culture? And like, if you want people to be offended by certain things, then stop normalizing it almost. You know,
but then
it
came down to a color thing too. Like, but if it wasn't another black male that the baby killed, would it be different? If it was, it might have been.
Right.
So, but
again, people need to be outraged about that.
Right.
And it doesn't even happen. I mean, half these people don't even listen to the baby's music. I highly doubt,
No, most of the people that heard what happened,
right,
never heard of the baby.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, they don't know kind of like the backstory of it. So it really comes down to the community and the people that are listening to the music to be upset about the contents of the music. And some people are just not, It's like a catch-22 almost. And it's crazy because I think I saw Michael Blackson say something like, oh, I bet you the community didn't even know about the baby, you're snitching. You know,
Yes, I
Michael
saw
Blackson
that
said
too.
you
Yes.
didn't know about the baby killing the person, you're snitching or whatever. Yeah, I don't think the people that are mad about the LGBTQIA, a lot of them, you know, I'm probably generalizing, but that community is so large. It's not just people of color. It's just not
Right.
Black people, Spanish people. It's encompassing of all different races. I'm pretty sure um colors and shapes and sizes. I'm pretty sure they all don't listen to the baby, so they wouldn't know what's going on with his music. So it comes down to the people who are fans of him to check him and be like, bruh, this is not cool, but that doesn't happen.
Right. And that's the point is he said you're snitching about something that is public knowledge. And it wasn't like it's a secret that
Right.
we don't know about.
Exactly. Now moving on in our feed, so we're based in like Philly, New Jersey, you know, Delaware, that area. And Ben Simmons has been a huge story here locally. So he has missed multiple preseason games, multiple practices. We know that he listed his condo for $3.1 million in Philadelphia, you know, as late as last week. So it seems like he was really checked out. He had no communication with anyone on the staff. Players, including Joel Embiid, tried to fly out to LA to just have a personal conversation with him. And he told them to stay your ass in Philadelphia. Don't hop on that
I'm
plane.
good, love.
Right. So it really seemed like he was over it and he was going to kind of like take the penalties that come with you not participating when you have a contract with a team. And his contract is, he has 4 years left on his contract. And then out of nowhere, right? We think that he's out of here. He's about to get fined. He don't care. Out of nowhere, he shows up in Philadelphia, did not inform the 76ers staff, takes a COVID test, now is having conversations with the organization. And this is craziness. His condo is literally listed for sale. Where are you living, bro?
Probably still in a condo. He probably got to move out because it's been so recent that he put it on the market.
Right.
But I think it's just crazy. And I think so he was fined some money, and that's part of my philosophy.
$1 million.
The only reason why he came back is because when he started realizing, even though we all talked about, and they've clearly talked about, even in the national news, how much he actually stood to lose. I don't know if it was like a chicken thing, like you didn't think the team was really going to get their money and take it from you, bro, when you're not showing up. And then when you realize, like, oh, I'm not going to get. Well, that was one of the things that I heard was there's like a clause, and you know, with the MBPA, and when you get traded to another team, he assumed he was going to get the money back when he eventually gets traded, and he's not. Like, you forfeit the money, period. You're not getting it.
It's a fine.
So I think that that's part of why he came back. I think it's so, you know, and again, I love the Sixers, I love the team, I love the different players, but Ben, for me, I'm sorry, like, I'm so disappointed in not just you as a Sixer, but as an NBA player. There are people that die for that dream to be where you are, and we all take stuff for life and granted in our positions, but to take it so for granted, bro. You wanted to be traded, they tried to trade you, they couldn't, bro. And then I'm hearing you're like, you too high profile to go to certain markets. Clearly you're not. They didn't even want you. You know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to come when a player knows he wants to go and you don't have value. You come and you play to the level that makes a team want you. Because then this attitude that you display really don't make a team want you. They're like, well, what are we going to get? He ain't that good. He's a diva, and look how these stunts will pull. And then to your point of him telling the team, so we hear this report yesterday, very early, that his agents were talking to the team to start talking. And then Ben just shows up. Right. So for all those people that are like, oh no, he really cares, I'm like, that action showed you didn't care. Because clearly, like, the communication was starting to say, okay, so it was like a marriage, or, you know, like let's broker the deal to get him back. And you basically say, screw all that, I'm outside, open the door. Like, what? Like, so you clearly, your behavior and your thinking and the selfish attitude, to me, shows it's definitely not changed.
Yeah, there's definitely a selfishness and a pettiness. And, you know, he was looked at differently when he did not perform on a basketball level. But now there is a black mark on his character, you know, and it kind of goes up a notch, right? If you mess up in basketball and you get better, we can forgive you, right? We can forgive you. We can move on. I mean, we're mad. But you've actually taken it to a more personal level where now the fan base wants nothing to do with him. I mean, I saw a picture of a man wearing a Ben Simmons jersey and he had cut out his name.
I saw it. I
He
was like,
cut
bro,
his
just don't wear
name
the jersey.
out.
Just don't wear the jersey.
Like, and it just says number 25.
He said,
Like,
I'm gonna get my money's worth.
right. He cut the whole name out. So it's like, how do you come back from that? How do you come back from telling your teammates, no, don't come see me? How do you come back from telling, allegedly, and he, he was smart because a lot of things came out in the news that were alleged. He didn't say anything out of his
Yeah, they
mouth.
were leaked
So
through
he could
different
easily be
sources.
like,
Yeah.
well, I ain't say that. I didn't say that. But it came out that he felt some type of way because he felt like they were literally constructing the whole team to Joel Embiid. And Joel had to address that, like, no, we constructed the team around you as well. We got rid of Jimmy Butler because you wasn't getting the ball.
And
So
how is that locker room supposed to, like,
that's where I was going with this. You've done so many personal things and so much has been said that how do you go back into the locker room and how does Joel Embiid look at you with respect? How does the fan base look at you with respect? Not only did you quit on the court, but you quit personally. How do the younger guys on the team look at you? Tyrese Maxey has been starting for him. How does he look at him?
Yeah.
Like, bro, you get to come back and just hop into a spot that
What
I
precedent
have
does that?
busting my butt for.
You're a veteran now. So what precedent does that set for these young guys who are very impressionable about how they should behave and act in the league, whether they stay on this team or go to another? Like, and then when we talk about the locker room, like your coaching staff, again, you didn't say directly, but indirectly, you basically said you didn't like the way Doc came at you. And he even apologized, saying, like, you know what, I did kind of come at him. But again, I don't know what age you live in that these guys is that soft that you can't. Like, normally that would fuel a guy to want to do better, show up and do what he needs to do. I think it's just like, it's so upsetting to hear our head coach say, oh, I didn't know what did he actually say? And it was a little bit of a shade. I laughed when he said something like, oh, I didn't even know. I guess, if I want to keep up, I'll have to ask Woj, who Adrian Wojnarowski. But I'm like, for the head coach to say that about his player, that I guess for me to keep up with this guy, I'm going to have to find out news from an NBA insider. Like, it's just so messy on so many levels. And I almost feel like, so some people are like, well, he's going to play good because, he wants to get traded. And we got to look at this like, this is okay for us. I'm like, that, and Mina, you played sports. That having a cancer in the locker room like that is it's terrible.
I don't want him. I'd rather he just stay home, to be honest. I just think that regardless of what people say in the media, you have to show face for the media. That locker room is going to be different. He's going to be looked at different. The respect level is not going to be there. And he's going to feel the effects of his immaturity. And it's going to come from all angles. It's going to come from the fan base. It's going to come from the coaching staff. It's going to come from the locker room. And this just goes to show that you can try to kind of bully people into doing what you want them to do in the NBA. But at the end of the day, it's just going to come back and bite you in the ass if you don't have James Harden level talent, period. Right. And you don't. Like,
right. LeBron level. And LeBron wouldn't actually, I don't feel like
LeBron would never do that.
He wouldn't do this. So
he would never do even, I mean, and LeBron has his own set of pettiness, but LeBron has a whole bunch of power that I don't like. He's out here firing coaches. Like,
he wants to compete and he wants to prove to people. Right. He wants to prove it on the court. And that's my thing with Ben. Like, it's proving, that's where you put it all in, is on that court. Again, whether it was to prove that you could be a better player at another team and increase your trade value, or to prove to the city, I'm not who y'all think I am, to your teammates. That's where you were supposed to do it, is on that court, and not through social media. And again, leak a story, then you put up a post of you chilling at your pool like you unbothered, leak another story, or they talk about trading for John Wall, then you put up your a video laughing at John Wall. Like, that's not how the players that we know and respect, that's not how they behave and act.
I will say, I just think that moving forward, he's gonna realize the effects of his pettiness, and he doesn't have the personality to win people back. You know what I'm saying? Like if it was like Joel
Right.
has the personality to win you back. Like he can literally do the worst thing and then he'll do something or crack a joke. And you're like, I
Right.
love this guy.
Right. He'll
And
go
you
in the
forget
scene,
about
he'll
all
get the
the
crowd
right,
into it.
right.
He'll do something that
He
you've been
doesn't have the
hearing.
personality to win people back. He doesn't have this endearing quality. You know, he's very stone and kind of put together and really reserved.
Mhm.
And I it's gonna be very
I'm scared.
interesting. I just don't think it's a good idea to have him in the locker room, and it's gonna show. And this is something that you're not gonna be able to get over at all.
But on the other positive tip, the Sixers will probably be in the national news a lot. So, but it's going to be a distraction, and that's the sad part. Is a distraction for the guys that want to play and want to play hard.
This might be a humbling experience for him as well. Like teams aren't willing to put up a lot of assets for him.
Right.
You know, he probably felt like, well, I can go somewhere and they, you know, they'll put up assets for me. Like, no, teams are not willing to compromise valuable assets to get Ben Simmons in return for a trade. So maybe this is a humbling moment for him to understand you don't have the leverage that you think you have, and you gotta get better as a player to get that leverage.
Yeah.
Period. Moving on. This is so interesting. It's funny we're talking about the baby. Fat Joe has said that the baby is the new Tupac, which I don't even understand. And
I'm so confused.
it gets under, and I love Fat Joe, but it
I
really
know.
gets under my skin how people want to compare like new people to like other people. Like some people you can't even compare to them. Like this whole Drake is the new Michael Jackson. Like Michael Jackson is Michael Jackson and Drake is amazing. But this is not, you know, when you compare the numbers, absolutely.
Right.
But when you compare the impact to a culture, to a industry, to the music world, it's not the same.
Right.
So it's like, I just hate these comparisons that people make. I don't think the baby is anywhere on Tupac's level because Tupac had a side of him that was very revolutionary. He fought for his community. He cared. You know, he had political commentary in a lot of his music. That is not what the baby does.
He was not only a rapper, he was literally truly a writer. He was an actor. He was this full artist. And again, just his background, everything he went through. I love Fat Joe. He is one of my favorite people. But I was like, wait, Joe, what did you have a couple too many sips before you came out with this comparison? Or did you get tongue-tied and you just was like, Tupac, like what happened here?
You know what?
No comparison.
Tupac used to get in trouble a lot, and he just didn't care. He had this "I don't care" attitude, but that doesn't mean that you can compare the baby to him because he's similar to that.
And it's like
trouble. I don't care. It's not the same.
It goes back to your point with Drake and Michael and the numbers, because my argument always with people in the numbers too is, yeah, but look how music is consumed and you purchase music and buy music. Like if Michael Jackson probably had, like, it might be different. His numbers could be astronomical. You had to really go buy that album or go out and buy that cassette and go to the record store, wait in line to get it. Where now you could do it from the easier phone. So even if the comparison was the way that Tupac got in trouble, that's just one facet of who he was. And again, even when he did get in trouble, I would say he was different than the baby, and he probably was more outspoken, good, bad, or different, even when he was in those situations than the baby has been. But again, a lot of where he came from, you know, and what he spoke about was just so different. And I'm with you. Like, I just don't like to compare it. Like, it's just like people trying to compare Tupac and Biggie. They were two different artists, two different phenomenal artists. There's no comparison. So, you know, we might do it in families. Like she had just like this person when she do this, but that person is a different person. And of course, the baby is running with it like haters gonna be mad. Fat Joe know what he's talking about, and I'm like, let's see. And this is another reason why I don't want you to give him that comparison and think that he's on that level.
No, absolutely not. I mean, even just intellectually, the things that Tupac used to say in his music, it's the baby's not giving that.
No.
You're not getting an intellectual song from the baby.
The best comment I saw was the only person the baby is like is the 2021 version of the baby. I was like, exactly.
Right. I don't see it. I don't know what Joe's talking about. So he gonna have to explain that one a little bit. All right, let's hop into our topic because this happened to me in real life. And I was like, this has to be happening to other people. So there are literally people getting discriminated against right now because of this vaccination situation. So look, I'm fully vaccinated. I am on board with the vaccine, but I also understand that different people have religious beliefs, they have medical issues. Maybe they're taking medicine for something already. They don't want to convolute it by adding something unknown to their body. There's so many reasons for people not to be on board with the vaccine, right? That is their personal choice, right? As long as you can provide a negative COVID test, I think you should be fine. However, I went to an establishment to eat, and this establishment in Philly was inside of a theater, the Kimmel Center in Philadelphia. So I did not know that you had to abide by those rules in order to go eat at this establishment. So they asked for a vaccination card. The person I was with did not have their card. So I'm like, okay, well, they require vaccination cards. There's a CVS down the block. Let's go to the CVS, get a negative COVID test. We should be able to go eat dinner. It's not a big deal. You know, they said they don't accept negative COVID tests, that they only accept vaccination cards. So that happened to me. That same weekend, I went to New York Comic Con. Again, in order to get into Comic Con, you need a vaccination card. No negative COVID test. Then I went to a bar afterwards to eat and drink food. Same thing. Vaccination card. So we're getting into this thing where the vaccination card is almost like an ID and the Holy Grail, and the negative COVID test is being like shunned, which I don't understand because you can still get COVID with the vaccination shot, and you can still spread COVID. If you have a negative COVID test, I would think that's more, just equally or more validating than a vaccination card, because we know you don't have COVID. So literally, I was discriminated against from going into this restaurant because the person I was with did not have a card, so we could not go in, right? And I'm sure this is happening everywhere. I'm really upset about it. I think it's wrong. I think that it should be one or the other. But in order to make the processes easier, I guess establishments are saying, let's just take the vaccination card. I don't think it's right. But what do you think about it, Shana? Is it discriminatory? Has it happened to you?
It has not happened to me, but I know, well, it almost happened to me. I think when I was in New York, I was aware that this was already happening at certain establishments, because at first it was very much you have either or. And some establishments in New York are still like that. But I knew that a lot of private restaurants specifically had changed over to like only vaccination card. So, I was with somebody who's unvaxxed. And again, I am fully vaccinated, but I'm fine with people who are not. It's everybody's choice. So we just kind of avoided those ones that we knew were only vaccination cards. And now it requires a little bit more research, especially when you're going out in a mixed group like that, like where we really had to look like or call like, hey, what do you require? Okay, well, we can't go there, we got to go here. I do think it's a shame because I understood, like you said, I understood. And because I do feel like people should have the right to the vaccine for whatever their reason is. I thought that was okay to ask for either or. What I also don't think is okay is some places, and I'm gonna bring it up because it's in New York again, like I guess on Broadway, most places you either have to have either or. So, but it has to be obviously within a certain timeline. So, for example, if you bought tickets to Hamilton, just put it out there because I had a friend that did this. She did get, and this goes back to your point, she got her first vaccination shot. So she thought she was gonna be cool. But because they told her you're not fully vaccinated, you only have one shot, so you need the COVID test. She had the COVID test and it came back positive, although she had her first vaccination shot.
Right.
Which again, why I feel like this card don't really mean anything
at all.
What I don't like that these places are doing, they will not give her, I get not a refund, but not even an exchange on the ticket. So you just lose your money on the ticket. And I'm like, well, that's not really fair either. If we're living in this age, in this day and age where everybody has to understand you got to be flexible. Like, I just feel like there's so many types of discrimination. Like, so now you told me to do what I needed to do. I did it. And now I just lose my money. Like, that's it.
Right.
Because I had this. It's just so many layers that I feel like places haven't thought about. I knew Philly was potentially going to that in some of the places. I think they were, and I get that some of it is trying to push people to get, which I don't like push people to get the vaccine, because I think I heard it was going to be gyms, restaurants, and like something else in Philly where it may transition to everywhere you have to have this vaccination. I actually did download, and I'm gonna tell you too, to download the Clear app, like the Clear app that you can use for airports. You can put your vaccination in there, and then you can just show that at a lot of restaurants too, so you don't have to have your card. But again, I just feel like it's wrong for so many levels that it's you only can have that one thing, because people have different, like, let's say you do have an exemption for religious beliefs, right? So now I can't get into this restaurant because I also have, like, it's too convoluted for me, that it just makes it like really, really crazy.
And I get that people want to make things simple, but this is not a simple moment in history, and it just frustrates me because, again, I'm fully vaccinated, and but I care about the people that potentially could be getting discriminated against because they're not maybe fully on board with the vaccine yet, or they have a reason why.
And to your point, you could have been fully vaccinated, going to that restaurant and had COVID. So why would not a negative COVID test be the better thing to honestly have?
And let me say this, if you follow the podcast, you know that I mean, we had a conversation about certain companies mandating their workforce to get, vaccines. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I think that's okay if you're working in a public field, like, you're working in the airlines or hospitals or daycare centers. You're in a field where you're literally around multiple people all the time. So I understand, but this is people in their private lives singularly going to different events. I'm not around all other people. I'm not interacting. I have my mask on when I go in. I'm sitting on my own. I don't think that's right. We have to kind of draw the line somewhere. And it's like, yeah, if you work with a lot of people and you're in a service area, I understand requiring people to get a vaccination, a vaccination and a vaccination card. But I don't understand requiring people to just go to dinner, and I'm not allowed to show you a negative COVID test. I don't understand that.
Yeah,
at all.
We're living in a strange time for so many reasons right now. It is really strange. And to your point, look at what's happening with Southwest Airlines right now, because they were required, and a lot of their pilots and everything have refused to get it, and then they're canceling flights. Like, so we're just living in a very strange time for so many reasons. And I do feel like, back even to Dave Chappelle's special, there's so many levels of discrimination that are happening, whether it's color and now whether it's vax. Because the other thing, when you say discrimination, and I thought that's what you were going at first, is we also have this like unhealthy almost beef between like vaxxers and non-vaxxers too, that's going on. That it's like, I respect listen, I got it. I have my reasons for why I got it. If you don't feel like you should get it, I respect it. But it's like, to now have this like unbiased like hate against like, oh, you're stupid, oh, you got the vaccine, you're so dumb, you let the government warp your mind. I'm like, actually, it wasn't the government. Actually, I just wanted you to do it. But okay, like, so I feel like there's just all of these type of discriminatory things happening around the vaccine.
Well, I feel like things are very extreme, right? I mean, it's like on one side you're vaccinated, you're wearing masks, and on the other side you're not vaccinated and you're not wearing masks. I feel like it's a lot of that, and it's like, don't be stupid. Just because you want to fight the government and,
right.
Or
say I'm stupid down because I let the government control.
Right. Like, no, but it's like,
I saw it and I was like, I want to be protected. It had nothing to do with the government.
Right. But again, it's this like kind of like very stubborn, like, oh, well, I'm not participating in anything because, I don't want people telling me what to do, when you should be like, okay, well, I'm not on board with the vaccine, but I'm still going to wear my mask because I'm still going to try to be safe, and I'm still going to try to protect the people around me. Like, it's like all or nothing at this point, and it's ridiculous. Like, just because you're not on board with the vaccine mandate doesn't mean that you need to just not be on board with any of it. Like, you have to do something, whether it's you wear a mask, you get weekly COVID tests, you get the vaccine. You have to have some level of protection, and you get to choose whatever it is that you want. That's a responsible thing to do. What I don't understand is these extremists who just are like, well, I'm not doing it and I'm revolting against everybody. Like, you're an idiot and you're the reason why people are going to get sick. And whether
But to
you
your
want to
point,
believe it or not, people are getting sick and they're passing away.
right. And to your point, if you choose not to be vaccinated, but you're doing it at some level, you'll say, for me to go to this restaurant, I'll go ahead and take a negative COVID test. That should also be okay.
Right,
Because
exactly.
you are protecting the people around you in that establishment at some level.
It's just the people that want to walk around like we're literally not in a pandemic. Like, those people get under my skin so much. Like, I don't care what you do as long as you're practicing some level of protection, whatever feels comfortable to you. But you walking around still acting like it's 2019.
2019.
Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like,
This
it
is
ain't
not
2019.
no more.
Like, 2020 didn't just happen. Like, you walking around like it's 2019, like giving hugs and stuff and kisses.
Mina,
I was in
that's so funny. You know how we used to be like, you walk around like it's 1920, then we gotta be like, you walk around like it's
Right.
2019.
Hello, like, I was in the club and I'm trying to regain some sense of normalcy, right? So I walk in the club, I'm masked up. Nobody got a mask on. I don't care. Y'all live your life. I'm living mine. Walk into the club, I got my mask on. I go, we got a section. Here's another thing. I'm not going to the club if we ain't got a section. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to be out in the regular general population at the club during COVID. If that's what it is, I'm just going to stay home. But no, we got a section. That's the only reason I came out. We had our own little section. It was far away from all the, unmasked people. Girl, I don't know. Girl comes over to our section and straddles the chair next to me and starts twerking her ass in the air. I'm like, girl, this is our section. You gonna bring your COVID ass, you twerking on everybody into our section? Little stuff like that. Someone else came into our section because they were invited by someone in our section. Okay. The person tried to hug me and shake my hand. Girl, if you don't get your fucking ass, if you don't get your ass over there and not touch me, I don't know you.
Yeah, I don't do that. I told you about when I went out to CLA, and the same thing. I'm like, we gotta, and every time somebody came over, I'm like, I'm sorry, this is our section. You don't have a mask on. So I understand you want to lean over and take a picture, but you leaning over me and I can't do it. I'm not gonna be able to do it.
Listen, the girl tried to shake my hand. I gave her a pound. She was like, oh. And it's like when you remind people that you're in a pandemic, it's like they look flabbergasted. like, girl, why are you looking at me like I got 3 heads? You ain't here trying to shake a stranger's hand. Lady, I don't know you.
And you don't know me. You don't know what I got.
Hello. So it just be stuff like
and
that.
I know y'all people back to not washing your hands again because y'all wasn't doing it before. They had to give you commercials and PSAs on how to wash your hands.
Thank you. Nope. Listen, the second I touch a stranger, I be popping out with my little sanitation. I'll be right on my hand every time. So I'm trying, but these people be out here acting like it's 2019 and I'm not with it at all. And I don't care. I don't care how you look at me. I don't care what you got to say. I'm gonna make sure you remember it's 2021, baby girl or baby boy. Don't be shaking my hand. Don't be hugging me. No, okay. Don't come around me if you ain't wearing a mask and I don't know who you are. Okay.
I'm right here maskless.
And I was thinking about having a Halloween party and I might require vaccination cards.
Oh, now you just just
wait a minute. You let me finish. Vaccination cards or negative COVID tests to get into my house. Okay.
Okay.
Actually, I think I might just require a negative COVID test because that vaccination
card. Because the vaccination card, and they be getting fake ones now.
Thank you. I need a test.
Which is why I was telling you with clear, like, and I do like that for because it makes you go through a process. Like, it doesn't just right away take your card. It like maybe go through an approval process to prove that my card was real.
That's good. I'm gonna have to download that when I go on my.
Yeah, because I downloaded it for New York because a lot of New York restaurants accept that if you just show them on clear.
So that's you can use that anywhere.
Yeah, so you just download the app. You don't have to buy the clear like package. They offer for free now the Vax, what they're calling like passport. But it does, and I guess that's why people are accepting it because it goes through a verification process to verify that you have a real vaccination card you uploaded.
Right. Okay, cool. All right. Well, stop discriminating against other people out here. Protect yourself and others, and stop acting like it's 2019 because I'm sick of
And
y'all.
that's because and we getting sick again.
I'm
Colds is
sick of
back,
y'all.
flus is back. Put your mask on. I don't want none of it.
I haven't gotten no COVID. So, Shana, you got COVID.
I did not get it. I thought I had it about 6 times, but I never got it.
Shana, you got
My
COVID.
throat is hurt a little bit now, and I was already like,
lying. You know what? My throat's been hurting too, and I've been wrapping up. Listen, you see me walking around, I'm wrapped up like it's December and mid of December and it's snowing. People are like, what? I literally had a 2-top on today, and I had, a scarf wrapped around my neck. People are like, why? That don't make no sense. It makes sense to me. Yes. So mind your business. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Dexter, I hope you're okay.
We hope you're okay. We are going to get Dexter's wife's info going forward because that's the only way.
We do, because ever since he became a teacher, he's been a hot mess. Same thing with the other one. Ever since he became a realtor,
he said people hating on him. I'm about to be one of them. You act funny now.
You see how women can multitask and still get it done?
Okay.
We got whole careers and we showing up.
Right. Doing 2, 3, 4 things and we still here.
Right. We will not talk to you next week because I'm on vacation. And then when we come back, it will be the 200th episode, 200.
That's huge.
Of the Mina's House podcast. So while I'm on vacation, I'm going to be planning to have a COVID safe virtual 200 celebration.
Yes, that's so big. I'm so excited.
Yes, me too. So
thank you guys for watching. That will be here.
They better be here. It's the Mina's House podcast. I'm Mina Say What.
I'm Shana B.
We'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
The 200.